Anna, a young mother returning to work after maternity leave, finds herself torn between a demanding banking career and her fragile newborn, Grace. Sleepless nights, an unsupportive husband, and an unforgiving boss push her to the breaking point. But just when it seems she might lose everything, unexpected changes at home and work bring hope and a new balance. This modern tale captures the silent war many mothers fight, making it deeply relatable and unforgettable. The office clock ticked loudly in Anna's mind even though she wasn't there. She sat on the edge of her bed, rocking her 3-month-old daughter, Grace, who had been crying for the past 2 hours. The baby's tiny fists punched the air, her voice shrill and desperate. Anna tried to hum a lullaby, but her own eyes were heavy with exhaustion. Tomorrow was her first day back at the bank, and already she felt as if she was failing both her job and her child. "Sure, please, Grace, please," Anna whispered, her voice cracking. Her husband, David, turned on the other side of the bed, pretending to sleep. He had work too, he often said, and his work was different. Anna wanted to scream at him, but the sound of Grace's cries swallowed her words. When the baby finally slept, Anna checked her phone. A message from her boss blinked on the screen. "Remember, the regional director will be around tomorrow. Be sharp." Her stomach sank. Sharp? She felt like a blade that had been blunted by sleepless nights. She placed Grace in her cot, tiptoed to the bathroom, and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were puffy, her hair unkempt, her spirit worn thin. Still, something inside her whispered, "You can't give up. You must show them you can handle both." But at the back of her mind, a darker thought lingered. What if I can't? Anna wakes up before sunrise, not because of her alarm, but because Grace started crying again. Her chest felt heavy as she nursed her daughter, her mind racing through the day ahead. She had laid out her black suit the night before, pressed and ready, but her body didn't feel ready. Her breasts ached with milk, and she knew she would need to pump while at work. But where? The thought made her cheeks burn. David shuffled into the kitchen, already dressed. "I'll drop you off," he said flatly. He didn't offer to help with Grace, who was still fussing in her arms. Anna wanted to ask him to stay with the baby since her mother-in-law had promised to come later in the morning, but the words stuck in her throat. She feared sounding like she couldn't manage. So she carried Grace to work and dropped her off at a nearest daycare just for that day. At the bank, the glass doors reflected her nervous smile. The office buzzed with activity as colleagues whispered about the director's visit. Anna slid into her chair, trying to look composed, but the faint milk stain on her blouse betrayed her. Her manager, Mr. Blake, approached with his usual clipped tone. "Anna, the director wants a presentation on client growth in the past quarter. You'll handle it." Her heart skipped. Handle it? On her first day back? She swallowed hard, nodding while her palms grew sweaty. Just then, her phone buzzed, a message from daycare. The carer's text read, "Baby won't stop crying. Come back quickly." Anna froze. A choice stood before her, the baby or the job. Anna's mind spun in circles as she sat in the conference room, pretending to pay attention. She couldn't shake the image of Grace crying in someone else's arms. Guilt gnawed at her heart, but her manager's sharp eyes kept her rooted in her seat. Just one presentation, she told herself. I can rush home after. When the meeting ended, she hurried to one of the meeting rooms with her breast pump hidden in a tote bag. She prayed no one would walk in. The room was cold, the tiles echoing each sound. She locked the door and began pumping, the mechanical hum filling the silence. She felt exposed, as if the walls themselves were judging her. Suddenly, the door opened. She heard two male colleagues giggling, their voices cutting through her nerves. Can you believe Anna? 3 months off, and she looks like she's drowning already. She won't last here. The bank doesn't bend for babies. Anna froze, tears stinging her eyes. She held her breath, waiting for them to leave. The pump whirred on, mocking her silence. When she finally returned to her desk, Mr. Blake appeared at her side again. The director is impressed with the data charts you prepared before leave. You'll present in 10 minutes. Her throat went dry. She hadn't rehearsed. Her body still ached from lack of sleep, and the ache of Grace's absence pressed deeper. But as she walked toward the boardroom, a strange fire lit in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, she could survive this test. The boardroom lights were bright, almost too bright, as if they were designed to expose every weakness. Anna gripped her laptop with trembling fingers, praying her voice wouldn't betray her. The regional director, a tall man with sharp glasses, leaned back in his chair, watching her with unreadable eyes. Her manager gave a slight nod, signaling her to begin. "Good afternoon," Anna started, her voice thin. She clicked to the first slide, but her mind went blank. For a heartbeat, she couldn't even remember the numbers she had studied weeks before maternity leave. A bead of sweat trickled down her back. Someone coughed. Then she remembered Grace's tiny hands clutching her finger at dawn. "If I can keep a baby alive through sleepless nights, I can survive this room," she told herself. She steadied her breath and began again, this time with clarity. She spoke not only of numbers, but of possibilities, how the bank could double its client growth with fresh strategies. Heads began to nod. Even the director leaned forward. When she finished, the room was quiet for a moment, then applause broke out. Relief washed over her, and the meeting ended. Anna got to her desk, but before she could even smile, her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message, it was a call. Her baby's carer's voice spilled out the moment she answered. "Your daughter is burning with fever. She won't stop crying. You must come now." Anna's heart dropped. The success of her presentations became nothing. She suddenly stood at a crossroads once again, stay and secure her career, or run to save her child. Anna didn't wait for permission. She closed her laptop, ignoring her colleagues, and left the office, straight to the daycare. Her heels clicked loudly against the marble floor as she ran through the lobby. People turned, whispering, but she didn't care. Grace was sick, that was all that mattered. The taxi ride felt like an eternity. The driver kept glancing in the mirror, probably wondering why her hands shook so much. Her mind raced with dark thoughts. What if she was too late? What if leaving Grace in someone else's care had caused this? The guilt was a knife twisting in her chest. When she reached the daycare, her carer stood at the door, worry etched across her face. "She's inside. She's burning up." Anna rushed in, scooping Grace into her arms. The baby's body was hot, her tiny breaths uneven. Tears blurred Anna's vision. She pressed her cheek to her daughter's forehead, whispering desperate prayers. David arrived minutes later, his expression tight with anger. "You left your office unannounced? Anna, do you realize what this could cost us?" Anna glared at him, clutching Grace closer. "Do you realize what she means to me?" Her voice cracked. They drove to the hospital in silence, tension choking the air. In the waiting room, as doctors examined Grace, Anna's phone buzzed again. A message from Mr. Blake lit up the screen. "The director asked about you. We'll need to talk tomorrow." Her career teetered on the edge of collapse, even as her baby's life lay in the doctor's hands. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic, cold and sharp. Anna sat on the edge of the plastic chair, rocking back and forth, whispering silent prayers. David paced, his jaw clenched, his phone glowing in his hand as if work was still more urgent than the baby fighting fever. At last, the doctor emerged, his expression calm but serious. "Your daughter has a high fever. Likely an infection, but we caught it early. She'll need to be admitted for observation." Anna's chest loosened a little, though her eyes still brimmed with tears. Anna and David walked into the ward where Grace was admitted. She kissed Grace's tiny hand. The sight of her baby on the small hospital bed nearly broke her. David sighed. "This is why I told you going back to work so soon would be too much." Anna snapped her head toward him. "Don't you dare blame me. She's our child, David. Ours. And you've done nothing but leave everything to me." Her voice trembled, but her words were sharp. The room fell into silence. For the first time, David looked at her as though realizing how deep her exhaustion ran. But instead of apologizing, he muttered, "You'll have to sort this out tomorrow. You know your boss won't understand." Anna stared at him, stunned. A storm brewed in her heart. She was beginning to see that her battle wasn't just with sleepless nights or career demands. She was fighting a silent war for support, respect, and her own sanity. And she was running out of strength. The night dragged on in the hospital ward. Machines beeped softly, nurses moved quietly, and Anna sat by Grace's bedside, refusing to close her eyes. She held her daughter's hand, whispering lullabies even as tears stained her cheeks. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from Mr. Blake. She read the first line and her heart sank. "Your absence today was unprofessional. We will review your commitment to the team." The words cut deep. She imagined herself jobless, unable to provide for Grace. Yet, as she looked at her baby's small chest rising and falling, another thought crept in. What if I'm not supposed to have it all? What if I'm not strong enough? David had gone home hours ago, saying he had an early morning. Alone, Anna felt swallowed by loneliness. Her mind wandered to the day she got promoted, how proud she had been, how she believed she could handle anything. Now, sitting in this hospital chair, she felt like a shadow of that woman. A nurse touched her shoulder gently. "You should rest. You won't help the baby if you collapse." Anna managed a small smile, but inside her heart screamed. Rest? How could she rest when every choice seemed like losing her baby, losing her career, losing herself? And in that heavy silence, doubt whispered louder, "Maybe you're already losing everything." Morning sunlight crept through the hospital blinds, painting soft stripes across the ward. Anna stretched her stiff neck, still seated by Grace's side. The baby's fever had lessened, but her tiny body looked fragile under the white sheets. Anna stroked her cheek, whispering, "Mommy's here. I won't leave you." Just then, the door creaked open. To Anna's shock, Mr. Blake stepped inside, holding a small fruit basket. He was the last person she expected to see. "Anna," he said, adjusting his tie. "I heard what happened." Anna stiffened, her mind preparing for a lecture. But instead, he sighed. "You did well yesterday." The director was impressed. "But he also noticed how quickly you left. He asked if something was wrong. I had to cover for you." Her lips parted in surprise. "You covered for me?" He nodded. "But you need to decide, Anna. Banking is ruthless. You can't run out of meetings and expect no consequences." He paused, his gaze softening as it fell on Grace. "I know it's hard. My wife went through the same when our first child was born. She gave up her career. I don't want to see you lose yours unless you choose to." Anna's throat tightened. She had always seen Mr. Blake as a cold man, but now, for the first time, she saw a trace of humanity in him. Still, his words twisted the knife deeper. "Choose." The word echoed in her heart like a curse. How could she choose when both worlds demanded her whole self? That evening, Grace finally slept peacefully, her fever almost gone. Relief washed over Anna, but exhaustion pressed down on her like a weight. She leaned her head back against the chair, staring at the ceiling, feeling trapped between two worlds that refused to meet. David arrived, holding a takeaway bag. "I brought you food," he said, placing it on the table. His voice was calm, almost careful. Anna didn't touch it. "Do you even see me anymore, David? I'm drowning, and you're just watching." Her voice cracked, her tears breaking free. He frowned. "You think I don't care? I work to keep this house running. You think your bank job is harder than mine?" Her anger snapped. "It's not about harder, it's about being alone in this. You get to walk away. I carry the baby, the feeding, the fear, and now the risk of losing my career. Tell me, David, when was the last time you even held Grace at night?" At that moment, Anna realized she was at her breaking point. She couldn't go on like this, pretending she was fine, carrying everything alone. Something had to change. She looked at Grace's tiny body, then at David's troubled face, and a thought struck her like lightning: maybe the battle isn't just baby versus career. Maybe it's also me versus the silence I've been living in. His silence was louder than any answer. And for the first time, Anna knew she would have to make a decision that would shock them all. The morning after Grace was discharged, Anna woke to the sound of clattering dishes in the kitchen. She rushed out, expecting chaos, but stopped short. David stood at the sink, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing plates with a clumsy determination. He turned, startled, then smiled awkwardly. "I've been wrong, Anna," he admitted, drying his hands. "I left you to carry everything while I hid behind work. I should have been here, with you, with Grace. I'm sorry." His voice cracked, and for the first time in a long while, Anna saw sincerity in his eyes. From that day, things shifted. David began sharing chores, sometimes rocking Grace to sleep at night, sometimes cooking breakfast before work. It wasn't perfect, but it was something, and Anna felt lighter knowing she wasn't alone. Her mother-in-law came to visit them, and to take care of Grace. She took charge with calmness, feeding Grace, singing old lullabies, and even preparing hot meals before Anna and David returned from work. The tension that once hung between Anna and David softened into something like trust. At the bank, Mr. Blake called Anna into his office. "The director was impressed not just by your presentation, but by your courage. We want you to lead the next client expansion project." Anna braced herself for the impossible demands, but his next word stunned her. "You can work hybrid for another 4 months, home and office. Prove it can be done." Anna left the office with her heart full. At home, Grace giggled in her grandmother's arms, David stirred a pot on the stove, and for the first time in months, Anna felt balance. Not perfect, not easy, but balance. And in that fragile, beautiful harmony, she knew she had not lost. She had found a new way to win.